welcome to the Andrew Buckle book review of Wonder Woman Conan. Obviously this is just, however, it is actually a hardback, but I just wanted to show it so I can hold it up very quickly. Now this is obviously from DC and Dark Horse Comics, came out in 2018, hardback, and it's got 160 pages, predominantly in colour, some bonus drill at the back in black and white. So you can see there Conan and Wonder Woman in chains. So they obviously meet up. I don't think that's much of a spoiler. There's a few mentions of spoilers in terms of the fact that the villains. I think you can see the villains there. Obviously it isn't the Shield, it's the crows. The crows. Obviously they're not real crows. It's Conan and Wonder Woman. They're going to be mystical creatures. So you've got here. But the thing is, you've got some great background of early life of Conan. Now, with all these stories, I always feel it's never a Conan story. It's never like a real Conan. You don't get the real Conan in these. You don't get the real Wonder Woman. In many ways, they play up to this by, well, certainly with Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman's got no memory. That is a bit of a spoiler, but not much because it's on the back. So she's alone, each is unstoppable. To be honest, together, they are quite stoppable at times because the crows are pretty powerful creatures and everything's really against them all the way through. So it's mighty warriors, passions run hot and deep, will search for love and lust. I have to say that's a bit odd because I didn't really that didn't come out at any point. There was no, to me, anyway, that again, sorry, that's a bit of a spoiler. Very odd. However, let's get to the book itself. There's a lot of action and violence and all that sort of stuff. No, not as much as maybe like the Dark Horse ones where head lopping is all the way through. There's not much of that. It's a more tamed Conan. This is what I'm saying. You don't get full-on Conan. You don't get sort of like people getting chopped in half kind of thing or whatever. Anyone, he's unstoppable. But the action is a lot more restrained, is the best way of describing it. Conan, Wonder Woman, Conan. And obviously all the people there involved, Gail Simone, I apologize for saying the name completely wrong, Matt Ryan, Aaron Lopresti, Wendy Broom, Tony Avina, Saida, Tamo Fonte, and so on. There's lots of other people obviously involved as well, and there's some more details there. And you can of course see lots of great battle scenes. There are a lot of, but as I say, it's not like if you get the Conan Chronicles. Conan really is full on. Whereas in this, far more tamed. And also, you get lots of backstory because Wonder Woman hasn't got any memory. Conan comes along and he thinks that she's Yana. And to Conan, she walked in mystery. See both the characters, there's sort of that mystery character. They look very similar, of course. And however, Conan comes along. This is all set in Conan's time. This is not set in, obviously, in quotes, our time or whatever time Wonder Woman is set in. But you've got, of course, there's no, what's the name in terms of, it could have been the 1960s Wonder Woman for all I know. However, doesn't. So you've got Conan comes along and there's some people obviously causing some trouble. Well, you know that Conan, of course, is going to help. He doesn't have to, but he always does. And what does he do? Well, anyone facing Conan, you know what's going to happen. Ow. Oh, I turned around and said there's no head lopping in this. But a couple of pages in, bit of head lopping. There's not much head lopping anyway, in comparison to some of the other ones that were far more brutal. One thing that's slightly lacking, no mystical, haunted, deserted city, which is always for me, favourite thing, a deserted city. Though there is a nice city there that you've got Conan going to. And you can obviously see there the arena, which obviously leads on nicely to Wonder Woman. And they finally, of course, meet up. And you can guess where the initial scenes are. Wonder Woman is stuck in a gladiator school, or gladiators, and she's battling lots of people in a pretty violent way, of course. But, of course, she's not as strong as she would, I mean, because there's a scene here where she gets attacked. And however, finally, you've got Conan meets Wonder Woman. You can see a very dramatic scene there with Wonder Woman. And so it's quite reasonably quickly into the story, 20 odd pages, and you've got Conan. Now, of course, as I said, he thinks that she's someone else. And so there's a lot of good flashback scenes to Conan's past. And as Conan, I'm not saying R.E. Howard put much about Conan's past, so I guess they can put whatever they want into Conan's past. Any character, any love that he had, they can put them in. Now, I might be completely wrong. Maybe someone will put in the comments saying Yana is one of Conan's loves in the original books. I can't recall, I have to say. However, you've got these crows, of course, and they're always at the background. They're doing various things. They're very unpleasant characters, like most of the characters in here. Also, some great ones out, obviously, on the high seas. So a bit of piracy involved as well, which is always good. Always great to have a scene with piracy. There's also some great covers as well. What a wonderful cover. No, they turn around and say, that's the trouble. Obviously, maybe that's what they were referring to in here when it turns around and says, passions run hot and deep. Though I think it's, but certainly not Wonder Woman and Conan particularly. Again, that's, sorry, a bit of a spoiler, but if everyone was hoping for some passionate love scenes between the two, I didn't really come across feeling that was happening. He's sort of, but lots of battle scenes. So if you want fights and things with both of them fighting, etc., and there's some great bits with the crows as well. Absolutely brilliant. Also, my favourite place, good old taverns. You can't beat a good old tavern. You're in a tavern. Conan has to have a tavern scene. I think virtually every book that I ever like, for some person like myself who doesn't like drinking at all or doesn't go to the pub or anything like that. However, I do love stories that are set in pubs and taverns, which is really weird. Maybe I'm sort of allowing myself to have a nice drink. However, then we've got some dramatic scenes all the way through. The covers are superb. I love the use of rain there as well. But you do get some of it back in the story. Obviously, with the Wonder Woman there, you've got My Queen. But I think it's just a great story all the way through. And I don't want to spoil the story, so I'm not going to show any more of that. I think it's just even though initially I'm always sceptical about these books because of Barbarella, Vampirella, those sort of things. Those combination ones, the Avengers and X-Men, whatever. Sometimes they always, to me, always slightly should be brilliant, but sometimes they can be a bit diminished because of it. Sometimes they're brilliant. Avengers, Defenders. But sometimes these different companies ones, you've suddenly got to have a certain amount for one character, a certain amount for another character, and then you've always got that sort of, and you think, well, it's not a Conan book, but I genuinely found it thoroughly enjoyable, and it's a good, satisfying end as well. It's got lots of nice twists and turns in the story, so there's sort of, you feel like building up to something and then building up, and there's quite a bit of that, so which I like in the story. It's terrible if it's just one relentless battle, one relentless thing. You need a bit of up and down in the story. However, got some great variant covers at the end. I love these ones. I always love variant covers. And the thing that's really nice about this book, it's done the variant covers full page. Why don't books do full page variants? And sometimes you get like four variants on a page, and like there's, 8, say, stories. You think, really, couldn't you have afforded to put 8 full pages in instead of 4 variants on cover only 2 pages? Because sometimes the variants are amazing. The artwork's superb, obviously without all the banners and all the various blurbs over it. And you think, why reduce them down to next to nothing? I mean, it's, you've got that lovely scene there of obviously the battle between, though the only criticism slightly is, quite often is, why they always change the costumes from what's in the thing. Always baffles, but of course they need to do that for obviously people who buy them in the shops. People obviously will go and think, well, that's not a Wonder Woman comic, it's something else. So they need obviously to be Wonder Woman, but it's always unusual the way they do that. However, you've got some brilliant sketches at the back. I love the sketches, and again, really nice because they don't put it in thumbnails, sort of 4 on a page. Quite often you get these books where you've got just glorious artwork, and you've got that beautiful artwork, and they just reduce it down to very tiny, and you think, really? Couldn't you have afforded a couple more pages? I mean, charge a little bit more for the book, 200-page book instead of 160. So this one at least has done the full page, and I think that's great. That's always something I love, big full page like this. Well, I have to say, this volume is actually saying that I just turned that and I hadn't. So that's very odd. They haven't put the title, obviously, there it is, but they haven't put it on there. How strange. So you've just got the wrap around. I suppose that's what they've gone for. Nice wrap around. So you've got that, which is quite a nice hardback for that. However, I think it's just absolutely great. I love Conan, I love Wonder Woman. So what a brilliant combination. Like I say, I could have been disappointed, but I wasn't. It's not 100% there, but still, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm really glad I bought it. So I can only say again, totally recommended. It both in this.